Welcome to this edition of Go Vote Omaha, presented by the League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha. I'm Cindy Maxwell-Ostdiek, and I'm Director of Public Policy with the League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha, and I'll be our facilitator for tonight's conversation. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization and does not endorse political candidates or parties. Our purpose is to empower voters and defend democracy. Go Vote Omaha focuses on policy issues. As a result of our discussions, we hope you will be ready to make an informed decision during election time. The views expressed at this educational event are not necessarily aligned with those of the League of Women Voters, but are expressed at the discretion of our guests. Today we'll hear from two candidates for the Omaha Public Schools Board to represent District 3 and 5. Our objective is for voters to hear about issues and policies directly from candidates in a nonpartisan environment. To find out more about the candidates that will be on your ballot this November, visit vote411.org, organized and published by League of Women Voters of Nebraska Volunteers. The format for today is as follows. Each candidate will get 1 minute opening statement, followed by questions prepared by the League of Women Voters. Each candidate will answer every question and will have up to 1.5 minutes to answer. Following the question portion, each candidate will have 1 minute closing statement. We will alternate speaking order throughout the forum. Before the forum, the candidates drew numbers to determine the initial speaking order, and I will introduce them now in that order. The two candidates running for the OPS School Board are Gini Magnuson and Nick Thielen. Let's start with opening statements. Gini?
Thank you. Good evening. My thanks to League of Women Voters for hosting this forum tonight and inviting me to join the conversation. My name is Gini Magnuson, and I'm running for the Subdistrict 5 seat for the Omaha Public Schools Board of Education. I am a mother of 3 kids attending OPS schools. I'm a career financial professional. Actually, this is my 20th year behind the desk. And I'm the candidate of choice for this subdistrict seat as endorsed by the Omaha Education Association. I am running because I'm a proud product of public schools. I'm proud to send my kids to public schools, and I really want to be a part of the team that works to continuously improve and protect the system on which so many of us rely.
Nick?
Thank you. Yes, Nick Thielen. I am running for OPS District 3, which covers Dundee, Benson, and Keystone. I've been on the board now for 4 years. I first ran when my children, 3 girls, are now in elementary school. They were just starting to get into school, and the World Herald had just uncovered the issues with OPS's pension, and I thought that there was an important time to step forward and help to make OPS better. In the last 18 months especially, I've seen significant improvements in behind the scenes at OPS, and I want to make sure that we see that transformational change through for all of our students in Omaha.
Okay, great. So the first question, Nick, will go to you. What innovations have you seen in schools that you would like to see expanded into in your school district?
Yeah, so I think when I think of the board especially, we sit at mostly a policy level, and we see the big picture in kind of the system level. And so the things that I have seen at OPS, and we are taking this from elsewhere, right? This is research-based practices, are the kinds of systematic evaluations of classrooms with things like the Elliott, where we go in and we take an assessment of what's going on in the classroom, how children are learning, and we're able to use that data and make data-driven decisions about where we need to do additional professional development, how we might need to change a building or a school or a classroom to make learning better. And those are the kind of research-based, data-driven, systemic things that I think that we should continue to invest in. OPS recently also created its own technology platform that allows us to intersect data that between those children, students who are absent, and some of their demographic information. So we might be able to look at a certain school and a certain year and say, we know that this particular demographic of students are having trouble getting to school this year, and then we can think about exactly why that group might have specific challenges. It allows us to be much more focused and much more targeted in our responses. So those are the kinds of improvements that I think we should continue to drive for.
Great. Jeannie, did you want me to read this question again?
Sure, yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, so that first question again is, what innovations have you seen in schools that you'd like to see expanded into your school district?
Thank you. That's a good question, and actually, Nick took a lot of the words out of my mouth because as a financial professional, I'm particularly interested in data-driven outcomes. I've been really pleased to attend board meetings and see that OPS has started infusing data into everything we do, looking at student identities and collecting that information and really applying that to see where we need to make improvements and work towards truly equitable outcomes based on where we're seeing, not data deficiencies, but data differences. I think that's a really fantastic innovation that OPS has made, and I would love to see that continue, because I think that, for as much as we're already doing, there definitely can be more done to improve what we are doing in the district and really reach towards equitable outcomes.
Okay, thank you. So the second question goes to you, Jeannie, and this is, in your opinion, what is the purpose of mandated academic standards in Nebraska public schools?
Yes, so mandated academic standards, I think I think that's an important, not distinction, but it's an important baseline. They act as a guideline, and they can really augment our data to see where we need to improve outcomes for students. I think that it's a good and important thing to have these mandated standards at the state level. And I actually want to point out that, across the nation, Nebraska truly consistently ranks in the top 10 best school districts because of those mandated academic standards. We have rigorous standards, and we hold our teachers to those standards and our students as well.
Okay, and Nick, did you want me to repeat that question?
Yeah, questions about academic standards, state academic standards. Yeah, I think a lot of what Jeannie said is very accurate. These are baselines that make sure that all students across the state, no matter which school, which district they're in, are getting that baseline education about the things that we think are important for students to learn. And they are just a baseline. OPS has lots of curriculum that goes beyond that. And it's important for each district to decide what is going to be important to their students and to their communities, the other things that they want those students to learn and be prepared for. We've got college and career curriculum that meets the state standards but goes way beyond them. We provide certifications. We've got college level courses that are available. Last year, 22,000 credits were earned with Metro from our OPS high school students. So there's lots of things that it's good to have that base level, but there's also, it is a base, and we've got lots of things that it's really important to look beyond that.
Okay. The third question, and we'll start with you, Nick, is to ask about funding. Funding has been a large conversation topic in education this year. How do you think we could better allocate public funds to improve educational opportunities in the state?
I think this is a really complicated issue, and unfortunately it's become a very political issue. I think there's good reason that property taxes are the main support for public schools. They're consistent. Schools usually have consistent budgets year to year, and so it makes sense to have a consistent source of funds. You don't want school districts up and down. Every year we've got the same number of students, whether income taxes or other kinds of taxes are going up or down. That said, Nebraska is, I think, 48th or 49th in the country for state aid to public schools. So it makes sense that we would also take some of that relief off property taxpayers and have some of that come from the state. The political issue, though, is more complicated, and that's because since TIOSA, the formula that decides how much state aid goes to each school, since that was adopted, passed in 1967, even in that very first year, senators failed to allocate the amount of funds that TIOSA said each school needed. So it's consistently underfunded. The schools don't get the amount of funds that TIOSA suggests that they should. And it's been a consistent practice of the legislature to do all the things that they want to do. And then at the end, if they don't have enough money, they cut education funding. So if the state can't be a consistent and reliable source of funding, then it makes it very difficult for anyone to advocate additional funds from the state.
Jeannie, did you want me to repeat the question?
No, I think I got that. Funding is a large conversation topic. I think that it is important to have people on a school board who understand budgets, who understand, how funding is allocated, where it comes from. I would be somebody who would support. I mean, it's not that the board has taxing authority or anything like that, but I would support a reformulation of the TIOSA formula. I think that we need some serious improvement there. But aside from that, I really agree with what Nick said as far as how we can more judiciously allocate funding across the school district and make sure that we're really funding towards outcomes and working towards student success and excellence.
Okay. And Jeannie, this next question starts with you. How can we attract young people to become teachers in Nebraska, and how do we retain the teachers we already have?
I think a lot of this really goes back to teachers being happy in their work environment. Compensation is a big one. I'm so happy that we have given teachers a large increase this year, but I also think it harkens back to our staffing issue. And I know this is a nationwide issue, but we're focused here in Nebraska, here in Omaha. And I think there's more we could do to attract teachers, making sure that we have trained paras, making sure we have support staff so that teachers aren't doing things like unlocking a door or answering a phone in a classroom. We need to protect that instructional time. And I think that your coworkers and your admin are an important part of a work environment too. How much does a teacher feel supported by admin? How free are they of workplace harassment and bullying? Because that isn't just a student issue. That's an issue with teachers and staff as well.
Did you want me to read the question?
No, so I think I would second everything that Jeannie said. I think the biggest thing is about teachers being happy in their work, about it being a good job to come to every day. There's been a long time that we've had teachers and their pay hasn't always, and still I would argue, does not really meet the professionalism and the difficulty of their job. And the reason that they become teachers is because they also find it fulfilling, and that there are things about the job that that they enjoy and find personally fulfilling. However, I think that there's a couple things that have, over the last few years that have really made things more difficult. There's been just kind of culturally, I think teachers have felt under attack, and I think that there's good reason for that. I think teachers have felt less respected, and I think that's incumbent upon us as a community to support them. For parents to support them, for students to support them, certainly from administrators and board, from principals, so that they've got that support in the building, in the classroom, in the community, and they know that when they go and they do their job, that they're going to be supported. I think that there's part of it is, I've also, again, I'm going to go back to the things that I have seen over the last couple of years. I think that certainly, COVID was very hard on teachers for a lot of reasons, but also the more teachers we lost, the more difficult it was for all of the rest of the teachers that were left. So we have to get to a place where we've got a stable teacher workforce. I think there's a lot of things we can do, and I think OPS has started, but definitely we can continue to do more.
Okay. And so Nick, how can we as a district support our school libraries in providing adequate resources and reading materials to all students?
Yeah, fortunately, this is an area that I think we do pretty well at. There are a lot of resources that help us identify books that would be good for our libraries, and we also have library professionals. We're very lucky in Omaha to have library professionals in most of our buildings that are familiar with the standards for how to choose books and the reasons that you might have particular books in a library, and they help to look at their individual school community to determine what might be relevant and important in that community. I think the resources really are there. I think that that's an area where, again, I think that we do pretty well. And I don't want to say it's easy, but it's one of the easier things that we have to deal with is the resourcing and availability in our library.
Jeannie, did you want me to read the question?
I got it, thank
Okay.
you. I agree with Nick because we agree with each other. But I think that OPS does a pretty good job in supporting our school libraries. I think that we can continue to hire credentialed librarians and trust them to understand and champion that process of selecting what types of library books and, for specific reasons that appeal to their demographic in that part of the city, and trusting them to stock the library with diverse selections so students can see themselves, they can see outside of themselves, they can see different ideas outside of the sphere in which they exist. So I love what OPS has done for school libraries. I think that we can continue along that path and continue to trust our librarians to do their best work.
Okay, thank you. So this question, we'll start with you, Jeannie. What can schools and the district do to expose students to diverse jobs and provide experience in those jobs as their education progresses?
I love what OPS has done with the College and Careers Academies. I think that having a strong relationship with, our school, our state educational, I'm not sure what I'm trying to say here. Other schools in the state, like Metro, we have a strong relationship with Metro, a strong relationship with UNO, and continuing to leverage those relationships to bring diverse selections of why can't I get the word out? Bring some diverse selections of careers into the classroom and introducing students to those different trades and vocations, I think is incredibly important. And I like what OPS has done in that regard. I think we can continue to strengthen those relationships there.
And Nick, what can schools and the district do to expose students to diverse jobs and provide experience in those jobs as their education progresses?
Yes, I think there's really kind of three things. The first is continuing to expand and leverage those resources that we have in Metro and UNO, especially Metro with trades. Those are things that we can't always do in a high school, so it's great that we have those opportunities to allow our students to get exposure there. So definitely continue to leverage those relationships. The second is, to the degree we can, we bring some of that in-house, and we do have some very high quality and successful career training within our schools. So we've got CNA training where you can graduate and have a CNA license. We've got a new program at Northwest that will allow you to have an associate's degree in when you graduate. So I think those give students access to things that are outside of our district and that give them direct access when they're in class. But I think there's also a connection to the business community that's important, and we need to continue to leverage that. It's difficult, it's ever changing. Those are relationships that we have to continue to maintain and evolve and make sure that it is something that where there's value on both sides. And so maintaining those business relationships where we can bring businesses into our schools so that they can have exposure to students and students can have exposure to them. But the main thing is, students can only do, in general, they can only do what they see, right? They have to have exposure to people who are in those jobs. And so we need to, as much as we can, provide those opportunities with diverse schools and diverse access to people with different jobs.
Okay. So Nick, in your opinion, how can we empower students to be more involved in the decision-making process of their education? Things like maybe potentially student government, attending district or state board meetings, choosing a career path, or do you have other ideas?
Yeah, I think, the first thing for students, I think we think about this a little bit, mostly at the kind of high school, middle school, high school level, and a lot of that, the first thing that students can do is they've got a lot of power over their curriculum that they choose. And we've got a lot of diverse curriculum across the district, some of it at different schools, a lot within schools where students can choose their path and decide what it is that they want to study and what they're interested in. But I would also say that, when there's things that students find that don't make sense, or there's things that they don't see that they want, that's when they should go to their board members. And that is part of the community voice that we are here to represent and to listen to and communicate. Certainly there are resources and people within the district that are more than willing and eager to hear that feedback as well. But that's a place where, direct input from a constituent or students to a board member can be a great way to start that conversation.
And Gini, in your opinion, how can we empower students to be more involved in the decision-making process in their education? Like I mentioned earlier, things like student government, attending district state board meetings, choosing a career path, or any other ideas?
Sure. I think that students can really only feel empowered to choose when they're aware of what is available. So I think that informing them on the availability of programs like this is super important. I think that exposing them to these different possible career paths is important. And I think that offering them the choice of what they can do. I know in my children's schools, the middle school in particular, my kids have choices of, can they join robotics? They can join student government. They can join, math blasters or history club, things like that, that appeal to a broad array of interests. So I think that offering them choices and getting them excited about those choices and truly showing them that they have choices is really key there.
Well, very good. And I feel like I've learned a lot just listening to both of you talking about this district and everything that you would bring to your position. We have our closing statements, and we will start that with Gini. And we will take a minute and a half so that you can share any closing remarks.
Sure, thank you. My thanks again to League of Women Voters for having us join this conversation this evening. Again, I'm Gini Magnuson. I'm running for the Subdistrict 5 seat for the OPS Board of Education. You can find me at magnusonforops.com to see my priorities and my vision for OPS. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, and I'd love to connect. I believe I am the only pro-public education candidate for this seat, which is why I've been endorsed by the OEA. My background in finance and management truly has given me, a critical eye to cast on what our board policies are, on our district programming, and I can collaborate with board members because I've learned, across my career how important it is to compromise and collaborate to truly, make a thing, in this instance, the district, better for everybody involved. And just as importantly, I am a parent in this district, and I have the energy and the desire to step up and do the work to truly represent you and our children. Thank you.
And Nick, you'll have a minute and a half to share with us your closing remarks.
All right, thank you. I think there's the list of things that we want in general from our public schools are pretty straightforward, right? We want safe buildings, we want qualified teachers, high quality curriculum, diverse offerings, and supports. I think, we've got an excellent school district. I often tell people that we don't have oceans and mountains. We have the things that we build here in Omaha and in Nebraska, and a great public school system is one of the things that we've built. It's one of the reasons that families like mine came back to Omaha after moving away. And some of those, especially for OPS, it's one of, if not the most influential institution on what the future of Nebraska is going to look like. Our 52,000 students, our 7,000 staff members, they're shaping the future of Nebraska. And if OPS does well, Nebraska will have a workforce of the future. We will have productive citizens, and we'll be offering opportunities to students that wouldn't otherwise have it. So I think this is, for me, this is the kind of most upstream opportunity to make sure that we are giving equal opportunity to all of the students in our community. And I think it's really important that we take it seriously and fund it and do the best we can to provide oversight, community voice, and really drive student outcomes.
Very good. Thank you both for joining us this evening. If you would want to learn more about the candidates and issues that will be on your ballot, visit 411.org, vote 411.org for a personalized resource tool. A special thank you to the candidates participating in today's conversation. And for the League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha, I'm Cindy Maxwell-Ostdiek, and as always, we urge you to be informed and be a voter this November. Go vote Omaha.